My name is Lisa, and my story is one of betrayal, anger, and ultimate revenge. A tale that began with dreams and ended in a nightmare. At 29 years old, I was a successful online entrepreneur living in Dallas, Texas, earning $30,000 a month. On the surface, it looked like I had it all: freedom, a thriving business, and the life I had worked so hard to build. But behind closed doors, I was trapped in a toxic marriage with my husband, Ryan, and his manipulative mother, Evelyn. I met Ryan in college. We were both ambitious, full of dreams and hope for the future. For a while, it seemed like we could conquer anything together. We married 3 years ago, believing that love would carry us through. But that dream quickly began to unravel when Ryan lost his job 8 months ago. Suddenly, I found myself shouldering the weight of our financial responsibilities: mortgage, bills, groceries, everything. I didn't mind at first. I had built my business from scratch, and I was proud of what I had accomplished. But the pressure grew unbearable as Evelyn inserted herself into every aspect of our lives, her eyes always glinting with greed. Evelyn, in her late 50s, never missed a chance to remind me of my duties as a daughter-in-law. Her voice dripped with false sweetness every time she asked for money. "You're doing so well, Lisa," she'd say, her smile wide and calculating. "Surely you can spare a little more for family." At first, it was a few $100s for her luxury vacation. Ryan begged me to help, and despite my reservations, I did. But it didn't stop there. The demands kept coming, each one more outrageous than the last. Then one evening, Evelyn cornered me in the living room. "Lisa, we need to talk," she began, her tone heavy with entitlement. "My wardrobe is looking shabby. I need at least $5,000 for a shopping spree. You can afford it." My heart raced as I tried to keep my voice steady. "Evelyn, I'm already covering everything. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, all of it comes from my income. I can't just keep giving you money for luxuries." Her expression twisted into one of contempt. "You think just because you earn a little that you can ignore your responsibilities? This is your family too, Lisa." The word family felt like a slap in the face. Family? The family that doesn't contribute anything to the household. I shot back, frustration bubbling to the surface. I looked at Ryan, expecting him to defend me, but he just stood there, silent, his eyes cast down. His silence was a betrayal. The tension in the room snapped, and Evelyn's rage spilled over. "If you can't help, then maybe you should just get out of this family," she screamed, her face flushed with fury. "Maybe you should talk to Ryan about contributing," I yelled back, the words leaving my mouth before I could stop them. In that moment, her fury reached its peak. Evelyn grabbed the baseball bat that had been leaning against the wall. Before I could react, she swung it with all her might. The impact was brutal, an explosion of pain as the bat struck my face. My vision blurred, and I stumbled back, clutching my cheek. Tears welled up in my eyes, a mixture of shock and agony. "What the hell, Evelyn?" I gasped, struggling to breathe. I turned to Ryan, desperate for him to stop it, but he was frozen, watching it all unfold as if he were a mere spectator. I looked into his eyes, but there was no anger, no defense, just a blank stare. In that moment, I knew I was truly alone. Evelyn stood over me, screaming, her voice sharp with accusation. "You're ungrateful. You think you can just take and take without giving anything back. You don't belong here." The rage I felt was a fire burning inside me. It was the moment I understood how deep their manipulation ran, how easily I had been used. I staggered back, my face throbbing, my heart heavy with betrayal. I had let things go too far. That night, as Ryan went out with his friends, I packed my bags. I didn't care that he wasn't home. I didn't care that he wouldn't notice until morning. I gathered my belongings, the only thing I had left, and I left. I didn't know where I would go, maybe back to my parents, maybe somewhere else. But I was done. As I drove away, tears streaming down my face, I felt a strange sense of relief. It was like breaking free from invisible chains. Along with the relief of escaping, a simmering anger bubbled inside me, a hunger for revenge that couldn't be ignored. In the days that followed, I stayed at my parents' house, reflecting on everything that had happened. The shock of that night slowly faded, replaced by a fierce determination. I was done. Done with Ryan, done with Evelyn, and done with the life they had forced me into. I had given enough. Now it was time for them to pay. I knew the next step was to file for divorce. I couldn't live under their control any longer. I was tired of being treated like an ATM rather than a partner in a marriage. As I thought about Evelyn's cruel words and Ryan's betrayal, my resolve grew stronger. I knew they would come crawling back, begging for me to return. I could already picture it, Ryan looking for sympathy, promising he'd change, while Evelyn played the role of the remorseful mother, pretending nothing had happened. But I wouldn't fall for it again. This time, I had a plan. I wasn't going back unless they paid for it, literally. The thought of having them transfer ownership of the house into my name danced in my mind. It was a risky move, but I was done being the victim. As I plotted my next move, I felt a strange mix of dread and excitement. I knew the road ahead would be tough, but I was prepared to fight for my life and my worth. Little did I know, this battle was just beginning. Days turned into a week. The pain of leaving started to subside, replaced by a burning desire to reclaim control. My parents offered unwavering support, reminding me that I deserved happiness. They could see the bruises on my face, but it was the ones on my spirit that weighed most heavily. One evening, as I sat at the kitchen table, my phone buzzed. My heart skipped when I saw Ryan's name on the screen. I hadn't spoken to him since I left, and part of me wanted to ignore it. But curiosity got the better of me. "Lisa," Ryan's voice sounded small, almost broken. "Can we talk?" "Why? So you can convince me to come back?" I shot back, anger bubbling beneath my words. No, it's not like that. I want to apologize. I didn't know what to do that night. Mom, I never thought she would go that far." His voice was filled with guilt. "Really, Ryan? You didn't know? You stood there and watched while she attacked me." I seethed. "You didn't lift a finger to help me." "I'm sorry. I was shocked. I thought it would calm her down if I didn't say anything," he stammered, his excuse falling flat. "Save it, Ryan. I don't want to hear your excuses. I'm done with this." I hung up, the familiar sting of betrayal creeping back into my chest. The next few days were a whirlwind of anger and determination. I knew it was time to move forward. I contacted a lawyer, laid out my plan for divorce, and made sure I had all my financial documents in order. Facing Ryan and Evelyn again made my stomach churn, but I was resolute. Then that Friday, my mom came into the living room with an uncertain expression. "Lisa, someone's at the door for you," she said hesitantly. My heart dropped. I knew exactly who it was. When I opened the door, there they stood, Ryan and Evelyn, looking uncharacteristically subdued. "Can we come in?" Ryan asked, glancing at his mother, who wore a tight-lipped expression. I stepped aside, not out of any desire to be gracious, but because my curiosity got the best of me. They entered, and the tension was palpable. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice as steady as I could make it. "Lisa, we're here to talk about what happened," Ryan began, his eyes pleading. "Evelyn and I've come to apologize as well. I acted terribly, and I understand that you were hurt. We just want to work this out." Evelyn's voice was softer than usual, but I could still hear the undertone of manipulation. "We just want to fix things, Lisa. Family should support each other." "Support you?" I crossed my arms, my anger rising. "You've done nothing but take and demand from me. Family doesn't treat each other like this." "I shouldn't have thrown the bat," Evelyn admitted, though her forced smile didn't reach her eyes. "I was under a lot of stress. But we're family, and family should support each other." I felt my blood boil. "I'm not going back to that life. I'm filing for divorce." Ryan's face twisted from confusion to panic. "You don't have to do that, Lisa. We can make changes. Just give me a chance." "Changes? Like what?" I shook my head, incredulous. "You stood by while your mother bullied me." Ryan's desperation grew. "Please just hear us out. We'll do better." I was done hearing their excuses. I had taken enough from them. "Fine," I said, my voice cold. "If you want me back, you'll need to transfer the house into my name. That's the only way I'll even consider it." Silence fell over the room as they processed my words. Ryan and Evelyn exchanged a glance, one full of panic and desperation. "Are you serious?" Ryan asked, his voice laced with disbelief. "Never been more serious," I replied, my voice firm. "You either want me back or you don't." Evelyn's face twisted into a grimace of anger, but I could see the fear lurking beneath the surface. "You can't be serious, Lisa. You're asking for too much." "No," I shot back. "You've taken too much for too long." After what felt like an eternity, Ryan sighed, defeated. "Okay, we'll do it. We'll transfer the house to you. Just please don't file for divorce. Evelyn didn't look pleased, but she nodded, knowing she had little choice. Fine, let's just get this done. As they left, I felt a mixture of triumph and unease. I had them right where I wanted them, but I knew this was far from over. I stood there, my hand still on the door handle, feeling the weight of their words trying to push their way in. Evelyn's voice was sharp, laden with fury, but it didn't touch me the way it used to. I was no longer the woman who crumbled under their manipulation. You can't just do this, Evelyn continued, her face twisted with a mixture of anger and desperation. You're making a terrible mistake. I held my ground, meeting her gaze with unwavering determination. A mistake. You've manipulated me for too long. I'm done. Ryan stepped forward, his eyes wild with panic. Lisa, this isn't just about the house. You're ruining everything. This is our family. Your family? I scoffed, my voice steady, though the anger simmered just beneath the surface. This family doesn't treat each other like this. You stood by while your mother bullied me, and now you want to play the victim? I'm done being your pawn. Evelyn's eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a cruel smile. You think you can just walk away, take everything and live happily ever after? You don't know what you're dealing with. I felt the sting of her words, but it was different now. I wasn't afraid of them anymore. I know exactly what I'm dealing with, I said, my voice sharp, every word cutting through the tension. And I won't let you control me anymore. Ryan's expression faltered, but it was clear that his desperation had only deepened. Please just think about this. You don't understand what you're doing. No, I said firmly. I understand perfectly. This is my life now. I'm reclaiming it. And you're not part of it anymore. Their silence filled the air, thick and suffocating. They knew they had lost, but their pride wouldn't let them admit it. The door slammed shut behind me as I walked away, the finality of my decision echoing in my bones. But as they left, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Ryan and Evelyn might be desperate, but I was ready. I had faced their threats before, and I would face whatever came next. The battle for my independence was far from over, but I was no longer afraid of what they might throw my way. The next few days were a blur as I focused on the next steps, finalizing the divorce, securing my future, and closing that chapter of my life once and for all. I was no longer bound by their expectations, their control, or their lies. I had reclaimed my life, but I knew that the aftermath of their manipulation would have lasting effects. Still, I was ready to fight for my freedom with everything I had. And then came the phone call. Ryan. Again. This time, his voice was softer, almost pleading. I steeled myself before answering, ready for whatever manipulation or lies he might throw my way. Lisa, we need to talk, he began, his usual bravado completely gone, replaced by something darker. I don't think you understand the situation. I wasn't going to let him worm his way back into my head. Enlighten me, I replied coldly, my tone unyielding. I just think you should reconsider the divorce. This isn't just about the house. It's about our future together, he said, desperation creeping into his voice. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Future? Ryan, you made your choice when you stood by while your mother abused me. There's no going back now. I heard him take a shaky breath, his voice lowering. Evelyn is worried about you. She doesn't want to lose her family. Family? I repeated, my words laced with venom. The family that treats me like a financial source. I'm done with that. I'm taking my life back. You can't control me anymore. The line went silent, and I hung up before he could say anything else. My heart was pounding, the weight of my decision settling in. But I didn't feel doubt. I felt clarity. I was doing the right thing. The anxiety still lingered, but I knew I was strong enough to face whatever came next. Later that evening, I decided to take a walk. I needed to clear my head, but as I strolled through the quiet streets, a deep unease settled in the pit of my stomach. I knew it was only a matter of time before they tried something else. And sure enough, the very next day, they came, Ryan and Evelyn, their faces twisted with anger and desperation. Lisa, Evelyn shouted as soon as I opened the door. You can't just do this. You're making a terrible mistake. The moment those words left the judge's lips, a sense of liberation washed over me. It felt like I could breathe again. The weight of the past, all the lies, the manipulation, the cruelty, had finally been acknowledged. I was no longer tethered to Ryan, Evelyn, or the life they had forced me into. The court had granted me the divorce, the house, and all the financial assets I had earned through years of hard work and sacrifice. For the first time, I felt like I had truly won. The chains that had once bound me were shattered, and the freedom that followed was exhilarating. I took a deep breath as I left the courthouse. Stepping out into the sunlight, the cool air washing over me. It was a new beginning, but it wasn't without its challenges. I knew that Rain and Evelyn wouldn't take this lightly. They would keep pushing, keep trying to reclaim control. But now I was prepared for them. They had underestimated my strength, my resilience, and my determination. The years of emotional abuse had nearly broken me, but they hadn't succeeded. The fire inside me had only grown stronger. The thought of their anger, their threats, no longer held power over me. I had fought for my happiness, for my independence, and I had won. The road ahead was mine to carve. I had my house, my life, and my dignity. The lessons I had learned from this painful chapter, about my own strength, about the cost of standing up for myself, would be the foundation for the future I was building. As I walked away from the courthouse, I felt the weight of the past lift. There was a life ahead of me now, one that was entirely mine to define. It was scary, yes. There would be challenges, but I was no longer afraid of what the future held, because I knew that I was strong enough to face whatever came my way. And with that strength came a sense of peace. I was no longer a victim. I was the one in control, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. For the first time in a long time, I felt hope. Real, tangible hope. I was free, and I was going to make sure I never allowed anyone to take that from me again. The battle for my independence had ended, but the journey of rediscovery had just begun, and I was ready for it.